Shalom Chavrim, and welcome to lesson 36 of Learning Biblical Hebrew. And we continue with the story of Adam and his wife Eve, although she hasn't yet been given the name Eve, and they're in company, and they're not wearing any clothes, and we'll see what they think about that. Genesis 2:25, Wayehi Shnehem Erumim Ha'adam were Ishto Velo Yith Boshashu. So we notice how Isha, again, the H on the end of Isha becomes a T when we have this suffix on the end of it, and you can see that on the sheet of Hebrew forms, point 4 on the middle column of the back page, which I won't bother looking at right now. So come down to our word by word translation. Wayehi, and they were, Shnehem. So this part means two, the number two, and hem means them. So them two, Rarumim, naked. So Rarum means naked, and there's the im plural ending because it's two of them we're referring to. Ha'adam, the man, and woman or wife, his. And not Yithboshashu, and not they were ashamed. So how do we do our translation here? And the two of them were naked, the man and his wife, and they were not concerned about it. So a book that I referred to before, Rome and Jerusalem, The Clash of Ancient Civilizations by Martin Goodman, makes this comment: Jews were self-conscious about nudity in a way that differentiated them strikingly from both Greeks and Romans. This kind of modesty was a characteristic common to much of the Near East. So they were naked and they were not ashamed. So this is making a point from the point of view of Hebrew and Near Eastern cultures. There is shame in that, which was not to the same extent with other ancient cultures, the Greeks and the Romans. So you will have a little bit more to say about that ashamed bit, which I've translated concerned, but just first a couple of technical points. Yes, this hem ending, so you can find that on our sheet of forms, page 4, middle column. Now this Yith Boshashu, that's called a Hithpael form. So if you look at page 3 of the sheet, the middle of the bottom column, and also the middle of the middle column on page 2, it's here it's used as a reciprocal. In other words, mutually ashamed before one another. Actually, truly said, it's a rare form that doesn't quite fit into this category, but it's close enough for our purposes. It has the same characteristic, yith, at the beginning. So here's the root here, these three consonants here, and the yith at the beginning is giving us the this characteristic Hithpael form. It's strictly called a hitpolel, but our sheet doesn't go into that degree of technicality to mention that relatively rare form. So we don't need to worry about it, especially since it just has the basic characteristics of a more common form, the Hithpael, and for our purposes the main thing is that the meaning is reciprocal. They're not reciprocally or mutually ashamed. Yeah, so about the word ashamed, because that's the first approximation to this word, ashamed. But Wenham, in his Word Biblical Commentary, points out that this word doesn't imply guilt. So he suggests better English translations are unabashed or not disconcerted. And so I've kind of followed his lead and put not concerned about it, expressing it in a slightly simpler English word. They were as innocent and naive as little children who aren't even aware that they're naked. In fact, you can imagine a little boy and a little girl happily playing together naked, and there is absolutely no problem. But what's going to happen is going to mess it up, and you can imagine it's a scene that I suppose has often been repeated. Two little children are playing together happy, they're just totally innocent and naive, and a big boy comes along and with a few nasty words shatters the innocence of their world. This is the sort of thing which more or less has happened to all of us, sad to say. But that's to jump ahead. Here we have the idealistic picture of the man and his wife, and they are just naked together and happy, and there is absolutely nothing wrong, nothing disturbing their innocence and their happiness together. And this was the way that God set it up, and this was the way that God intended it to be. And here they are living in a paradise, and they're just happy together, and there is no blot or blemish or problem of any sort in their happy world.